Well, it is the end of another day, and I am out here in the garage having a cigar, just relaxing. I want to thank you for joining me. If you are not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Make sure and turn on the notification bells. My sister alerted me of the fact that she had no idea I had any videos that have come out because she didn't get any notifications. So I am doing these daily, and I love for you to join me for them. So make sure you hit that notification bell to know that they're coming out. As always, if you like the content, hit the thumbs up button and join in with my sister in the comments section. I promise you, she and I can have some pretty humorous interactions, and if you want to get in on them, they are certainly worth joining in. My brother actually used to talk about how we should set up a camera and just video Melody and I going back and forth, because we are all over the place and it is entertaining all the time. So, well, one of the things I was thinking about today, actually just a moment ago, I'm in the middle of a career shift, and it got me reflecting on some of my previous jobs, previous bosses, and different things that have stood out. I am going to continue in Romans real quick, but I did want to share this story with you. I thought it was interesting, and maybe it'll be something that you'll find interesting as well. I had a thought, how many times have you fallen victim to a good sales pitch? I know that I have purchased a lot of things on a whim because somebody just really sold me on it, and I had buyer's remorse pretty much immediately because I realized I didn't buy the product, I bought what they were selling, if that makes sense. It was them, their presentation made me want to buy the product. I didn't need it, or it wasn't a very good product, or whatever. The service was bad, I regretted it. But if you get a good salesman, it's actually an enjoyable experience. My best example of this that I experienced was my manager, Drew Klum, inside of a Publix grocery store. We worked for US Bank, and he epitomized the low pressure sales pitch better than anybody I've ever seen. He was truly one of a kind. He was definitely a Southern guy who'd been brought up in just a slower pace of life, and there was no rush, there was no angst. And he talked to me about the importance of that, removing that pressure, and his stories that he would tell and the phrases he would use were hysterical. He had one thing that just, I always laughed hysterically. I was in tears laughing about it, because every single day he would come in talking about his pet rat. Why he had a pet rat, I do not know, but he would talk about his rat, excuse me for that loud laugh, but his rat had a tumor on it. And he talked about how he wasn't going to operate on his rat to remove the tumor because it was too much money. But he would come in talking about how, well, my rat's tumor. And that's how he would start his stories. You know how you've got that person who always comes in and they tell you about something interesting, and they may preface it with, well, she did it to me again, and it was something that happened with their girlfriend or their wife or whatever. But for him, he would come in and talk about, well, my rat's tumor's getting bigger. And he said it's so bad he can't even drink the water the right way. And I'm not laughing at the suffering of the animal. Please understand that. I do not want an animal to suffer at all. But he said the rat would put his paw up on the cage to steady himself as his tumor was out, and he would just be drinking that water. Again, it's not the story that's funny, it's the way he told it, and the fact that this guy just comes in, my boss talking about his rat's tumor. Oh man, I apologize for that, but it just was so funny to me, because he would take that same approach in what he was selling. So he would offer, this was in 2006, so you can imagine, 2007. You can imagine what we were offering in banking at that time. Everything was all about mortgages. So he would talk about mortgages and what you could do and what you could get and how you could do a HELOC and It's prime minus 101, which was insane at the time, with no floor rate on it. I mean, it was crazy. But I say that to say, a lot of times when people hear the gospel, they feel like somebody is trying to sell them on something. And it can either turn them off, or maybe they're not really buying the message that the person is talking about, but they're really just kind of buying the presentation of the message. And there is such a misunderstanding in my mind of trying to sell the gospel. I don't believe that the gospel needs to be sold. I feel like it is a treasure that is found. There is not anything about the good news that needs to be over exaggerated or fluffed up, or whatever, any type of sales gimmick, flashy presentation. Hey, let's get you hyped about an emotional decision. Because what I've seen happen so often, and I'm sure you've seen it as well, somebody buys, like I said, the presenter and their presentation rather than the message. And so this is my attempt to try and not sell you on the gospel, but to just present the gospel to you. So with that being said, I'm going to continue in Romans chapter 3. It's about to start getting really good here. If you've joined me so far, thank you. I appreciate you coming back. And hopefully this will be encouraging to you tonight. If not, don't worry. I promise you by the end of Romans, it is incredible. So, beginning in chapter 3, what advantage then has the Jew, or what is the profit of circumcision? Much in every way, chiefly because to them were committed the oracles of God. For what if some did not believe? Will their unbelief make the faithfulness of God without effect? Certainly not. Indeed, let God be true, but every man a liar. As it is written, that you may be justified in your words and may overcome when you are judged. But if our unrighteousness demonstrates the righteousness of God, what shall we say? Is God unjust who inflicts wrath? I speak as a man. Certainly not. For then how will God judge the world? For if the truth of God has increased through my lie to his glory, why am I also still judged as a sinner? And why not say, let us do evil that good may come? As we are slanderously reported, and as some affirm that we say, their condemnation is just. What then? Are we better than they? No, not at all. For we have previously charged both Jews and Greeks that they are all under sin. As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none who understands. There is none who seeks after God. They have all turned aside. They have together become unprofitable. Sorry about that. I had a visitor with me in here in the garage. Had some mice. I apologize. They have all turned aside. They have together become unprofitable. There is none who does good, no, not one. Their throat is an open tomb. With their tongues they have practiced deceit. The poison of asps is under their lips, whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and misery are in their ways, and the way of peace they have not known. There is no fear of God before their eyes. Now we know that whatever the law says, it is to those who are under the law, that every mouth may be stopped, and all the world may become guilty before God. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, no flesh will be justified in his sight, for by the law is the knowledge of sin. But now the righteousness of God, apart from the law, is revealed, being witnessed by the law and the prophets, even the righteousness of God through faith in Jesus Christ to all and on all who believe. For there is no difference. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Jesus Christ, whom God set forth as a propitiation by his blood through faith to demonstrate his righteousness, because in his forbearance God had passed over the sins that were previously committed, to demonstrate at the present time his righteousness, that he might be just and the justifier of the one who has faith in Jesus. Where is boasting then? It is excluded. By what law? Of works? No, but by the law of faith. Therefore, we conclude that a man is justified by faith apart from the deeds of the law. Or is he the God of the Jews only? Is he not also the God of the Gentiles? Yes, of the Gentiles also. Since there is one God who will justify the circumcised by faith and the uncircumcised through faith. Do we then make void the law through the faith? Certainly not. On the contrary, we establish the law. Well, thank you again so much for joining me this evening. Hopefully this was a good message for you tonight. Hopefully the story at the beginning made you laugh a little bit. Like I said, add some comments if you like this. Give me a thumbs up and share it. And as always, if you are in the area and would like to join me, I would love to share a cigar with you and change the world.